We are indeed back again. FC26 is officially here, and there are so many changes to the game. There are so many additions to the game from a gameplay perspective, and you already know that this is the best place to get your realism sliders and settings. So we're going to get all into it. What is FC26 like? Is the gameplay better? Is the gameplay worse? What's authentic gameplay? What's competitive gameplay? How are they different? And how can you level up your game to make it as realistic and as much of a simulation as possible? Make sure to stick till the end of the video, as I'll be showing you guys gameplay, dissecting the gameplay, giving you the sliders, giving you settings, and explaining why set them that way. If you go to enjoy this video, please drop a like on it and subscribe. I'd greatly appreciate that. Now, some of you may already be wondering, what's the need for sliders? Why are we here? Why are you doing this video? They already added sliders in the game. There's authentic gameplay, and you choose it and it sets sliders for you, and it should be good, right? Well, yeah and no, because at the end of the day, it is EA Sports. They are still centered around the ultimate team, the online way of doing things, but I will give them credit and say authentic gameplay is a step in the right direction. What I'm going to offer you today is the next few steps to even further go in that right direction. Now, the gameplay you're going to be seeing is, of course, FC26, and it's on legendary difficulty. You're going to see different scenarios. I'm going to show you guys different situations that you can find yourself in a game, right? Where you may be playing as one of the lower ranked teams against one of the top ranked teams, which is the game that you're seeing now between Sunderland and Manchester City. You're going to see a game where you're playing as two evenly matched teams. You're going to see a game where you're playing as two very poorly rated teams, like some of the lowest rated teams in the game. For some of you guys that want to do Road to Glory series and you wonder if these sliders will work for you, you'll see how that gameplay looks, and you'll see when you're playing as a top team against a smaller team, right? The goal is to make winning possible in all these scenarios, right? But to feel the difference in quality between the players. That's what I go for. And of course, to simulate football, for it to look like and feel like a football match. And that's the whole goal of this right now. First of all, the authentic gameplay is a step in the right direction. For some people, it'll work. For some people, it's fine. For some people, it's like, yeah, that's better than competitive. From competitive mode, it's just like the online type of thing, the default FC or default FIFA type of gameplay, right? What I'm doing here is taking it a step further, and I'll give the sliders in a second. But my first impressions of the game was it's slower. It's slower. I didn't really change up the speed settings all that much. It's a very good pace. The pass speed is very much similar to the sliders that I've been using on FC25 and FC24. I wonder, are they watching? Are they listening? Do they hear us? Hopefully they do, because the gameplay, man, is so much better. Some negatives I'll say is there are still those weird animations, especially when the players receive the ball where they may be facing an odd direction, but overall it is much better. There are also way more settings and way more sliders. They added more options, and we always like options because it gives us the option to improve things from the default. Right now they've added sliders such as header shot error, header pass error. Headers are actually effective in this game, I'll say that. I've scored some headers. You can actually center your game around headers, which is what real life teams do. If you have like a target man up top, if you're a team full of like aerially dominant players, you can genuinely be a threat from set pieces, from crosses, from these kind of things. And that was just not there in FC25 and FC24. But now that's back, and I like these kind of options. There are also tons of other settings regarding interceptions and deflections and all these kind of things, but you'll see them right now. So let's just get straight into the sliders. By the way, this is the first set of sliders, so I'll make them available to everybody, but throughout the year as I update them, because the game does change with every title update. There are modifications made, and I will be modifying and testing the sliders every single time. If you want those updates throughout the whole year, make sure to be a member down in the description below. Members get exclusive access to those videos. Now, the first thing you'll notice when you open up the game type settings is there are sections within the sliders. Right there on the right hand side, there's gameplay style, weather effects, player speed, so on and so forth, because the sliders are now broken down into certain sections. So starting things off with the gameplay style, it's going to be custom. So we choose whether you want it to be the competitive type of gameplay, which is, I think everything is on 50. I never chose that, so I don't know. You get the authentic gameplay, which they have their sliders set and you cannot edit, but we're going with custom because you want to manually edit your sliders. Then authenticity features are on. Now, authenticity features are very good. They change certain animations, right? And I believe this is what has replaced the traditional game speed in the game, because I believe it was in FC25 or 24, I'm not too sure, where they removed the game speed feature where you could choose whether you want normal game speed, slow game speed, or fast game speed. This is basically slow game speed. It doesn't just slow down the movement of the ball, it slows down the animations of the players. They take extra touches. They are slower in just bursting, like, with that initial, like, first 3, 4, 5 steps in the movement, right? It slows everything down. It has been added as a new feature, but I'm just breaking it to you. It's basically just slow game speed. And it is a positive thing, though, because we didn't have it in FC25, right? When you move over to weather effects, I have wind effect on low and weather effects are on. Now, the first section in terms of the actual sliders is player speed, and we're going to start things off with sprint speed, 36 for both user and CPU. I think on authentic gameplay they have it on 35. So I actually increased the speed, but I decreased the acceleration. I kind of swapped those around a bit. The acceleration for the user and the CPU is on 45. Now, just on the acceleration a bit, to those who had previously decreased acceleration in FC24 and 25, you'd see this animation where the player would feel like they're running through mud or some quicksand, right? That is because that feature of slow game speed was removed. So that burst of acceleration was far slower than the rest of the game, whereas now you can genuinely edit acceleration and it not feel like that, which is a very, very, very big positive. Going over to the shooting section, we have shot error for the user on 65 and shot error for the CPU as well on 65. And then for shot speed, we have 47 for the user and 46 for the CPU. The CPU always has super fast shot speed, so we nerfed it just by 1 compared to the user. And then we have header shot error, our first of new sliders added to the game. It's on 20 for both the user and the CPU. On the passing section, you'll find pass error, which is on 65 for the user, and it's on 45 for the CPU, so the user has a higher pass error. It's just to add that challenge. Passing is easy, and I will say, even on legendary difficulty, the gameplay isn't that difficult. For some, they may find it difficult because maybe they're not used to the slower gameplay or the authentic gameplay, right? But as a person who always strives for that, it's a bit easy with the passing, so I have it up to 65. We'll get into the game settings as well, where you adjust assistance levels, because those are just as important. So you'll see how those tie into like pass error and shot error and those other things. Moving over to pass speed, the user's pass speed and the CPU's pass speed are both on 34, and then the header pass error. So there's a difference between the header shot error and the header pass error. So the header pass error is on 55, because I guess they're simulating that passing the ball with your head is more difficult than shooting with your head, which I kinda understand. Moving over to injuries, we have injury frequency on 70 and severity on 30 for now. I'll be honest, I haven't seen any injury, so that may end up going up to like a 75 or something. The severity as well, I haven't seen a single injury, so of course they're not severe, right? I don't know. This is really important in career mode, and when I do start my career mode, I'll start playing around with this slider. This is one that I change on the fly. When I'm literally getting no injuries or getting too many injuries, I adjust this, so you guys can just adjust it accordingly. Moving over to goalkeeping, 65 for user and CPU, because the default goalkeepers are just useless. The next section is team positioning, and there's quite a lot of positioning stuff here. Firstly, we have marking. Marking is on 59 for the user and 57 for the CPU. I think they actually started on authentic gameplay quite high, like 70 or something. The issue with having it too high is the players constantly get dragged out of position, especially the CPU players, right? So that's why the CPU's one is a bit lower than the users. I don't mind my players going a bit extra out of position to engage, because I can quickly control them. But if you have the marking for the CPU too high, they're just going to keep getting drawn to the ball. They never stick to their position, and that may open up gaps defensively, right? Run frequency for the user is on 27. For the CPU, it's on 30. So you have to manually generate runs a bit more if you are really struggling to score goals. If you are really struggling with your players not making runs, of course, increase it. This adds that much more of a challenge. Line height all the way up to 72. That Normal defensive lines are quite deep, so I like them a bit higher to leave a bit more space to allow counterattacks and these kind of things. Line length is all the way down to 28. To those who don't know, line length is how much space is between your three lines: your line of attack, your line of midfield, and your defensive line, right? So the spaces between there, the spaces where like that taking midfielder of the opposition may pick up. The lower you take it, the more compact the team overall is, which again makes it more difficult to break teams down. I will say this about that: it's way more difficult to break teams down, and you have to be very much patient, right? With that said, I think I'm going to be increasing my half length. I normally play on 6 minute halves, but that's just not enough because you have to be patient. By the way, if you're thinking you're just going to run through players, that's not going to happen with these sliders. It's just not going to happen, right? So be prepared to have to think, to have to plan, to have to try to move the ball around one side, move the ball around the other side, look for who is open. Players drop, receive the ball, turn, switch the ball, progress it up, cut it back. You're going to have to do all of that to work for that one chance, because you're going to really appreciate that one chance when it comes, which is what should happen. So I've slightly increased my half length up to 8 minutes, and it's a bit long, but it's needed. It's needed. If you guys do find a way, to do all of those in 6 minutes, go for it. But my halves are up to 8 minute halves. That's a bit of a tangent, but I felt like I should point that out. Moving over to line width. Line width is on 49 for both the user and the CPU. And the last one for the positioning is fullback positioning. It's up to 70, so the fullbacks can just get higher up the field. We move over to the other section, which is ball control. The power bar for the user is on 47. This is down to personal preference. Like, I can't really say much more than that. It's down to personal preference. So the lower you take it, the more input you have to put into the button. The higher you take it, the less input you have to put into the button. It's just that straightforward. And then the first touch control error is up to 90 for both the user and the CPU. I usually drop this down to 2 or 3, but I have it this high because there are a few new sliders added: intercept error and ball deflection error. And that should say interception error, but we're not here to teach English. We're here to fix the game, right? Intercept error, we have up to 76 for the user and 73 for the CPU. And then ball deflection error, we have up to 99 for both. Now, what are these things? Intercept error basically refers to how much likely you are to receive and retain the ball when performing an interception. So the higher the intercept error, the less likely you are. So there is more error in intercepting the ball. Whereas the lower the intercept error, like the CPU's is, the more likely you are to intercept the ball, right? Now, think back to FIFA, to FC, to whatever it was called at the time, the goals that you would concede from your player being there, the pass being played, and them just not sticking out their foot to intercept the ball, from them touching the ball but then losing it again without actually winning it. This fixes that. When the player makes the interception, they make the interception, right? Of course, depending on how you adjust the slider. I have my intercept error, the user's intercept error, a bit higher than the CPU's because, again, to add more of a challenge, but you can easily lower this. The lower it goes, the more interceptions you will make, and the easier it will be to intercept the ball. The ball deflection is just that, how wild the deflections are going to be. And I have it fully up there because it makes it very random. And I like the moments of randomness, like when you shoot and it goes to the keeper, it's not always going to deflect back to the striker like it did. Think back again how many goals you'd concede that way. Now, the higher it is, the more random it may be. Even just aerial duels, headers, deflects, it goes a certain way. Sometimes you're fortunate, sometimes you're not. And I do believe it is that random. And that is a big, big addition that I didn't know of in the game. And finally, probably one of the best additions in terms of sliders in the defending section is tackle assistance. Again, think back to how many times you would tackle a player in the past and just not win the ball. You tackle it and your defender would touch the ball but not win it, and tackle and tackle and tackle, and it ricochet, ball deflection error, not intercept the ball, interception error, It all ties in. It all ties in. And this means that first touch control era is literally just about the first touch. That's why we increased it so highly, to add that challenge when controlling the ball, to be more aware of which direction you're going to touch the ball and that kind of thing. It's such a big addition, man. I cannot be more glad about the addition of tackle assistance. The tackle assistance for the user, by the way, is on 43, and the tackle assistance for the CPU is up to 52. So the higher the assistance you put, the more likely you are to win that tackle, similar to the intercept error, right? So this is the assistance. So the lower you go, the more you have to be perfect in your tackling. So I have mine lower than the CPU, again, to challenge myself to make those tackles, to allow the CPU to be able to dribble past me. The higher you increase this for the CPU, the more difficult it's going to be for you to dribble past them. So if you are finding it easy to just run past the CPU defenders, increase their tackle assistance. Moving over to AI behavior, it's on tactical. Tactical adjusts depending on the in-game tactics per team, and that's what I would recommend. You can set this to custom. I did at points in FC24 and 25. I don't think it was an addition in 24. In FC25, I definitely did at points, because the gameplay was just that bad that I had to take that much more control. But that means every team plays tactically more or less the same way. And that's not really what you want to do, right? So I have it on tactical for it to depend on each team. You can have it on dynamic, which makes it random, but again, we're more focused on realism. And then finally, we go over to the strictness of the referee. I'll say there are hardly any fouls in this game, like more than usual. I usually use strictness, but now I'm using a very strict referee strictness because I'm hardly getting any fouls, man. I think I've had one red card and maybe 2 or 3 yellow cards in close to like 50 games now, and that's like 50 games of 8 minutes halves playing this game, right? Maybe like 40 games of that, because like the first 10 games are probably played on 6-minute halves, but still I'm not really getting many fouls. And I really wish there was like another slider for like foul frequency, something like that, or not just the strictness in terms of the cards, because I think this is what it refers to. It's mainly regarding cards, but not the strictness on what is a foul and what isn't, because I'm really not getting any fouls. Now, those were the sliders, and now let's go into the game settings. This is usually where everybody stops watching the video, and then they end up asking me, why is my game not like yours? Because you didn't apply the game settings. So to those who are still watching, you're in the loop. Yeah, custom preset auto shots off, assisted headers off. We don't want any sort of assistance. Short assistance is precision, not fully assisted. Off, auto flow pass, right? Through pass assistance is manual, and all the other passing stuff are semi for now. I will work myself into getting as many to manual as I can, but right now I only have through pass on manual because I really believe you have to work for those through passes. In terms of defending, I have auto clearances on, because sometimes the input to clear is not really there. Directional, manual jockeying, advanced defending, that's really down to personal preference. Professional fouls are on because I want that option. Pass block assistance is on. Auto switching, all the switching stuff, to be honest, are down to personal preference. They don't really affect the game that much. The most important things are all the assistance stuff. So stuff such as auto flare pass and these things, right? Save assistance, we have to semi, and the camera pan speed I'm still playing around with. I had it on slow there, but now I'm going to try default. I'm trying to see exactly how it looks and what looks better. I'm still not sure, and I would highly recommend having analog sprint on, because just spamming the sprint button isn't going to work in this game. The defenders are more intelligent, and I like that they are more intelligent, and they just pick off like your bad touch. Especially when you have 90 first touch control error, you can't really be spamming the sprint button. So I'd suggest having analog sprint on, so that at least you have control on how much of a sprint you're trying, to input into the game. But again, one of the most important ones I'll highlight is through pass assistance. Have it on manual, man. Work for those through passes. Work for that killer final ball. I ideally also want to have lob pass assistance on manual, and ideally also want to have crossing and lob through passing on manual, right? I never really have ground passing on fully manual. That's just a bit too brutal for me. But listen, if you are that hardcore, go for it. Now, that was a lot to get through. A lot of sliders, a lot of settings, a lot of new additions, which I'm very excited about. Overall, man, I am surprisingly pleased with the gameplay right now. Again, I'm enjoying it. But again, in the past, I've said I'm enjoying the game, and then they just went and dropped an update a few days later, and it just messed everything up. I hope you guys are enjoying the game as much as I am. I am going to go and play the game now. I'm going to go play the game now. I'm about to start my new career mode, which will be dropping on Monday, so keep your eyes peeled for that. I hope you guys enjoy the sliders. Let me know any questions down in the comment section below. Any adjustments you guys feel like you should make, go ahead and make them. If you have enjoyed this video, please drop a like on it and subscribe as well. I'd greatly, greatly appreciate that. I've been with you, Crush, and I'll see you guys next time.